Cornwall, a land balanced between myth and sea mist, from crumbling mines to lonely cliffs. It's a place where history and legend blur together, and today we'll uncover 5 of the most chilling ghost stories ever told in this wild corner of England. So light a candle and listen closely. These are Cornwall's top 5 ghostly tales. The Ghosts of Jamaica Inn, Bodmin Moor. Built in 1750, the Jamaica Inn became infamous for smuggling. Its remote location made it the perfect hideout for Cornish wreckers and brandy runners. Travellers crossing the moor often vanished without trace, their goods mysteriously reappearing at the inn. The legend says one night a smuggler was lured outside by his accomplices, only for them to murder him and bury his body on the moor. Ever since, guests have heard boots pacing in empty corridors and the murmur of unseen voices in the bar. Staff have even reported doors slamming on still nights and a shadowy man who disappears through solid walls. The Jamaica Inn's notoriety was immortalised in Daphne du Maurier's 1936 novel, Jamaica Inn. Inspired by her stay there during a storm, the inn still stands to this day, and many visitors claim the hauntings are all too real. In more recent years, one of the inn's most talked about encounters happened during a paranormal investigation. Witnesses claim that, without warning, a wall-mounted telephone was violently thrown from its fixture and hurled across the room, despite no one being near it. This paranormal event was also caught on CCTV, and staff insist that there were no wires or mechanical faults that could explain it. Many now believe it was the spirit of the old smuggler still making his presence known. The White Lady of Roche Rock. Roche Rock rises suddenly from the Cornish landscape, a jagged pillar of granite crowned with a crumbling chapel. From miles away it looks almost otherworldly, as if torn from some ancient legend and frozen in stone. Local people say there's something about the place. The air feels cooler, the wind quieter, as though it's holding its breath. Long ago, when this was still wild heathland, a priest's daughter is said to have lived nearby. She fell in love with a man accused of treachery, a fugitive hiding from the king's men. Forbidden to see him, she fled with him to the tiny chapel built on top of the rock, hoping its holy walls would keep them safe. For a time they survived in secret, drawing water from a spring and lighting no fires. But hunger and fear wore them down, and when their hiding place was discovered, tragedy followed. The soldiers killed her lover before her eyes. Overcome with grief, she climbed to the edge of the rock, whispered a prayer, and threw herself into the darkness below. Ever since that night, travellers and locals alike have spoken of the White Lady. They say she appears on moonlit nights, drifting along the ledges of the rock, her gown glowing pale against the granite. Some have heard her soft weeping carried on the wind. Others, a sudden whisper calling their name from the shadows. Those brave or foolish enough to call her back often regret it. Old miners used to swear that anyone who answers her voice is doomed to vanish before dawn, drawn into the rock itself to share her eternal sorrow. The chapel at Roche Rock still stands, its stones slick with centuries of rain. Archaeologists say it dates back to the 15th century, built as a hermitage dedicated to St. Michael, the archangel who battles darkness. Perhaps that's why the legend persists, a balance between holiness and haunting. Even now, when the mist rolls in and the last light fades, locals avoid the path that climbs to the chapel. They say it's not the fall that frightens them, it's who or what might be waiting at the top. The Phantom Miner of Bodmin Moor. Beneath the wild expanse of Bodmin Moor lie the bones of Cornwall's mining past. For centuries, men dug deep into the earth, chasing veins of tin and copper that promise fortune or death. The mines were dangerous places. Tunnels collapsed without warning, flooding swept men away, and deadly gases stole the air from their lungs. Many never came back to the surface, and yet some say the miners never truly left. Hikers and explorers have reported strange sounds beneath the moor, rhythmic tapping from tunnels long collapsed, and the faint flicker of a lantern deep underground, swaying as if carried by unseen hands. They call him the Phantom Miner, a spirit doomed to wander the shafts where he perished, or perhaps warning others before tragedy strikes again. Some say they've even seen him walking across the moors at night in the mist, holding his lantern. Mining records from the 18th and 19th centuries tell of countless fatal accidents across Cornwall, and in those days the miners spoke of the knockers, mischievous spirits who tapped on the walls. Some said the knockers brought good luck, guiding men to rich seams of ore. Others swore they were the ghosts of dead miners, trying to warn the living of danger. So when the winds howl across Bodmin Moor, and you hear the echo of metal striking stone, listen closely. It might just be the moor remembering, or a miner still at work, far beneath your feet. The Ghost Ship of the Lizard. At the very tip of Cornwall, where the land gives way to the wild Atlantic, the sea hides countless secrets. For centuries, sailors have whispered of a phantom ship that appears through the mist, black sails torn, hull splintered, yet moving silently across the waves. They call it the Ghost Ship of the Lizard. It's said to appear just before great storms. Fishermen out of Cadgwith and Coverack have spoken of seeing its dim lanterns swaying in the distance, and hearing the faint toll of a ship's bell, long after the sea should have swallowed it whole. When they sail closer, it vanishes. Some say it is the spirit of a smuggling vessel, wrecked on the rocks centuries ago after its crew tried to lure merchant ships to their doom, with false lights along the cliffs. When a storm turned against them, the ocean claimed every man aboard. Others believe it's the ghost of a lost Cornish lugger, the Lady Lovibond or the Dolphin, ships said to have perished on these very reefs, cursed by betrayal and jealousy. According to legend, the crew's greed condemned them to sail forever, trapped between this world and the next. Their punishment, to warn others of the fate they once inflicted. And when their phantom sails are sighted, glowing faintly in the stormy mist, locals know to stay ashore. For tragedy often follows. Even today, Coast Guard reports occasionally note strange lights far out to sea. Lights with no radar signature, no vessel and no explanation. Old fishermen still glance nervously towards the horizon when the fog thickens, whispering, "The sea remembers." The Lizard Peninsula has claimed more than 600 ships since records began in the 13th century, earning it the title, the Graveyard of Ships. From treacherous tides to wreckers' deceitful lights, the coastline's deadly reputation fuels the legend and keeps the ghost ship stories alive among Cornwall's oldest families of the sea. The Witch of Bodmin Jail. Deep within Bodmin's stone walls, built in 1779, countless souls met their grim fate on the gallows. Among them, legend whispers of a woman accused of witchcraft after a child in the village fell mysteriously ill. Condemned without trial or proof, she cursed her captors with her dying breath. Her last words, they say, were soaked in rage and sorrow, a promise that her spirit would linger long after her death. Visitors to the old jail claim her presence still clings to the cold cells. Some speak of icy fingers brushing against their arms, unseen whispers curling around them, and shadows that twist just beyond the edge of sight. Footsteps echo behind them, though no one is really there. Staff say the old woman's wing carries an oppressive weight after sunset. Even the bravest keep their distance. reporting doors that slam on their own and distant laughter that turns to screams in the darkness. Bodmin Jail was one of Britain's most notorious prisons, housing criminals, debtors and those condemned by superstition. While official records make no mention of a witch execution, several 19th century inmates were hung under dubious charges. A history that has fueled local ghost lore for generations. Some believe the Witch of Bodmin is more than a story, a lingering soul who cannot rest, trapped forever within the stone and shadow of the jail she cursed. And if you wander Bodmin Jail late enough, some say you might feel her cold breath on your neck. Cornwall's ghost stories remind us that history never truly sleeps. From smugglers and miners to lost lovers and restless spirits, every shadow here has a story. But which of these hauntings do you believe? Let me know in the comments below, and remember, when the Cornish wind whispers your name, maybe it's best not to answer.